I'd like to offer you some beautiful wisdom from one of my teachers, a man who his name as Joseph Rael, also known in his Tiwa name of Beautiful Painted Arrow. It sounds like this: Tslutkoy, Tslutkoy. Amazing about Tiwa because it's a language that had never been written down, so that they realized that writing it down would allow a loss of recall, so you're no longer having that direct relationship with the vibrations themselves, but rather with the concepts in the mind that are written down on a page. Interesting, beautiful, and that is the beautiful painted arrow. That's the one left in the quill that holds the medicine. It's the one you don't use when you're out there, whether it be hunting or in battle, etc. It's the one that stays there. It's almost like the central pillar of some of the ancient philosophies. And you can hear that, which is the arrow traveling through the air, which is the arrow hitting the target and reverberating across that target. It's really incredibly amazing. So first I'm going to quote Joseph from his book, Being and Vibration, which here's the newest version right here. But it's coming from my book, Echoes of an Ancient Dream, because it leads up the 5th chapter, The Tunnel of Streaming Light. I talk in The Tunnel of Streaming Light about how I grew up in southern New Jersey, a town called Mount Royal. I was right on the line between Mount Royal and Clarksboro until I was 10 years old, right next to the train tracks, which ran behind our house. We had acres and acres and acres of my uncle's peach trees, cherry trees. We had pears, we had raspberries, we had blueberries. It was pretty incredible growing up there. Across the street was the Stratton's farm. My Aunt Marie lived there. My grandmother lived there, all right around us. We had this beautiful little stream that actually ran through our property from a pond back in the woods. And I would often lay down in that stream and only have just the slightest bit of air, of my face in the air. I would be back in that freezing cold stream, which if I laid in it now, I might not fit. It's amazing how much smaller things look when you go back. You remember them as a kid and they're huge. But I would lay there until there was no more separation between the water and me, and it was literally flowing through me. And I would also go walk just a few feet right there from the base of our yard down where the stream was. I would go. There was an irrigation tunnel that went under the street so that the stream would flow from our yard into the Stratton's farm across the street. And I would often sit in this tunnel, which had all the ridges. I talk about this in the book, and I would just, especially in the summer of 1979, I remember so distinctly. I was 7 years old. I was really getting deep into biblical things. But here I am toning, and I didn't know that it was toning. And I would often lose sense of the voice that was leaving my mouth and what was coming back, and all these different tinny voices from all these ridges coming back at me. And then I would be turning in the tunnel and like having all these different experiences. And of course, this was something that is so viscerally impacting for me later in my life, down onto like the gut level of how I live my life on the level of vibration. Well, I'm going to read something from Joseph from Being in Vibration. Then I'll read a little from Sound. Of course, there's House of Shattering Light. There's Way of Inspiration. This is one of his older ones. The new edition of Sound. These are from Millichap Press, Paulette Millichap's company. All worth getting. And I've got DVDs of Joe. I've got so many different things. But this, when I first read this about 25 years ago, this book, Being in Vibration, that it comes from, was co-written with my dear friend Mary Elizabeth Marlowe. She's quite an incredible being. She lives in Virginia Beach. We've been to her home. Beautiful. But this book, when I read it and I read about what he's saying here, it floored me because it's exactly the way the nature beings raised me. I'll go more into that in future videos as I was growing up in New Jersey. Not quite as much when I moved to Pittsgrove Township at the age of 10, but even then we were on the edge of the Pine Barrens, and we had tall pine, which was a pine that took several sets of hands, people to go around. It was so huge. But walking in the pine forest is amazing because it's as if it just snowed. You don't hear much of anything because like snow, it muffles the sound. So I had some really deep, amazing pine-scented awakenings out there as well. So this is from Joseph. The earth is such a powerful metaphor for truth. that vision questers will dig a hole in the earth and go down into the hole to be more in tune with the silence that is fused with perfection. It is not surprising then that the chambers for teaching the ancient mysteries were often underground. Going underground was the metaphor for entering the perfected self. As a young boy, I was taught in those underground chambers to look within. I discovered that I was silence and darkness, and that then I saw that by seeing with my eyes, I created movement, and out of it, illumination came. And then I realized that the silence and darkness were full of emptiness, and the emptiness was full of light. And also in Joseph's words, in an interview with Jeffrey Mishlove on Thinking Aloud, he spoke of the darkness being so pure that it's clear. And I've discovered that in my own work, especially in the breath work and the toning, that when you get deep enough into what you think of as the shadow, you find a clarity in which light emits. In the depths of the shadow is light. And you can't go around it. You have to go through the desert in order to get to that. So I'd like to offer a little bit more here from his book Sound. Just a few more words in this video. Now in this one, this is Joseph. He says the mystery of life is very simple. So simple that anybody can understand it. The truth is this. Think of the toning. Sound is the basis for all that is. Everything comes out of sound, and sound comes out of vibration. That sound is what created time. Time is the power to crystallize awareness so that manifestation can find placement. That is a really deep one. Everything is a power. It embodies an archetype. We are living in the midst of the mystery of life, but we are living in ignorance. We're not paying attention. We don't know that the room that we are in is a holy chapel. The floor, the walls, and the ceiling are holy vibrations.